She left her phone behind on purpose. That's the detail that changes everything. 18 years old, a gun pointed at her through a drive-through window, hands bound behind her back, napkins stuffed in her mouth. And still, Samantha Koenig found a way to fight back. A blinking light on a counter. A silent scream for help that investigators almost missed. But here's the part that will stop you cold. By the time police even knew she was gone, Samantha was already dead. But to understand how we got here, we have to go back. Back to February 1st, 2012. Back to a coffee stand in Anchorage, Alaska. Back to an 18-year-old girl checking her phone, waiting on a text from her boyfriend, completely unaware that a predator had already chosen her. Anchorage, Alaska. February 2012. The cold here isn't just uncomfortable. It's a living, breathing thing. Temperatures plunge well below zero on nights like this, and the darkness settles in fast and heavy. It's the kind of cold that keeps people indoors, that empties parking lots, that makes the streets feel abandoned even when the city is still very much alive. Samantha Koenig loved this city. She was 18 years old, a high school senior, and by all accounts, the kind of daughter every parent hopes they'll raise. She had big dreams. She wanted to become a veterinarian. She was saving her money, working hard, planning a future. Her father, James Koenig, had raised her as a single parent since she was just 2 years old, and the bond between them was something that people who knew the family described with nothing short of reverence. Samantha was his world, said someone close to the family. She was his only biological child, and he was a really sweet person, a biker-type fellow. James had done everything right. He'd kept Samantha close. He'd even allowed her boyfriend, Dwayne, to move into the house, knowing it would make her happy, knowing he could keep an eye on things. That's the kind of father James Koenig was. Present, devoted, protective. And none of it would be enough. On the evening of February 1st, Samantha is working the closing shift alone at Common Grounds, a small drive-through coffee stand in Anchorage. The stand is quiet. No customers have passed through in a while. She's wiping things down, cleaning up, checking her phone, waiting for Dwayne, who is supposed to pick her up. It's 8:15 p.m. On the security camera footage, you can see her moving around inside the stand, comfortable, relaxed. She has no reason to think anything is wrong. Then a dark figure emerges from across the parking lot. He's walking toward the drive-through window on foot. No car, just a man, moving deliberately through the dark and the cold. Samantha goes to the window to greet him. She starts making a coffee. Everything looks completely normal. They talk. She engages with him the way she would any other customer, friendly, professional, and then she takes a step back. Both hands come up. Her body language shifts in an instant, rigid, terrified, cornered. Investigators who later watched this footage had no doubt about what they were seeing. The man at the window had pointed a gun at her. What happens next unfolds over the next several minutes, and it is both terrifying and, in one small moment, quietly extraordinary. Following his orders, Samantha turns off the lights, first in the front, then in the back. She moves to the cash register and removes the money. She crouches down and puts her coat on. She turns around so he can reach through the drive-through window and bind her hands behind her back. And then the man does something that tells you exactly who he is. He doesn't wait outside. He doesn't ask her to come to him. He grips the edge of that drive-through window, and in almost one fluid motion, he leaps through it, into the coffee stand. Investigators watching the tape would later say it happened so fast, it was almost shocking. One leap, he was inside. For the next several minutes, Samantha is trapped in that small space with him. What passes between them, we don't know. What she's feeling, we can only imagine. When they finally move toward the door, she has napkins stuffed in her mouth. At 8:25 p.m., Samantha Koenig walks out of the Common Grounds coffee stand. The man is at her side, close. They cross the parking lot together, turn right on Fairbanks Street, and disappear from the frame. And no one knows she's been taken. Now, here is where it gets important. Go back to that footage. Look inside the coffee stand after they leave. There is a light blinking on the counter, small, easy to miss, but it's there, flashing over and over again. Samantha had left her phone behind. She didn't forget it. She left it intentionally, a blinking beacon, a silent distress signal, the one clue she could leave behind without him noticing. But the problem with that clue, her boyfriend Dwayne was going to receive a text from that very phone 3 hours after she vanished. At 8:30 p.m., Dwayne arrives at the coffee stand to pick Samantha up. He finds it dark, empty. He tries calling her phone over and over. No answer. He assumes, because he was late, that she got a ride with someone else. So he goes home and waits. By 11:30 p.m., he's still waiting. That's when his phone buzzes, a text from Samantha's number. And the message reads, "I know what you did. I'm going to spend a couple of days with friends. Need time to think. You've been acting weird. Let my dad know." Dwayne stares at his phone in confusion. He doesn't understand what he could have done to upset her. He shows the message to James. And James, who knew his daughter better than anyone in the world, reads that text once and thinks, "This doesn't sound like Samantha." He was right. The message wasn't from Samantha at all. By 3:00 a.m., Dwayne can't sleep. He's sitting outside on the porch, restless, watching for her, when he spots something. A dark figure moving around near his truck. Shouts out. He runs inside to get James. By the time they make it back outside, the figure is gone. They don't call the police. It's a decision that, in retrospect, is hard to fully judge. Because what reason would they have to believe something truly horrible had happened? An odd text. A figure in the dark. It could have been anything. The next afternoon, February 2nd, at 12:39 p.m., the Anchorage Police Department receives a 911. Officer Kevin Eam is first on scene. "I got a call towards the end of my shift about a possible abduction," he would later recall. "A barista at a coffee shop. I get there and talk to the barista's father and her boyfriend." As he listens to their account, is already working through it in his mind. A girl didn't come home. A weird text message. Someone rummaging in a truck in the middle of the night. No call to police. He's honest about his initial uncertainty. "I'm thinking maybe she's got another boyfriend somewhere and she didn't want to come home. I don't know if this is truly an abduction, but we still have to investigate it as if it was." When he turns his attention to the coffee stand itself, the barista who opened that morning tells him something important. The register was empty. So were the deposit bags. Everything was gone. Officers sweep the scene, collect evidence, search every inch of that small coffee hut. "Not only did I not find anything," one detective said, "there was no sign of struggle. But everything changes the moment they pull up the security footage. Detective after detective crowds around the screen as the tape rolls. They watch Samantha clean. They watch the man approach. They watch her hands go up. And then they notice something that had been easy to miss. Right next to the light switch inside the stand, there's an alarm. She never pressed it. If she was in danger, why didn't she hit the alarm? Investigators asked. She had a perfect chance to press that alarm button. That question, that puzzling, haunting question, gets answered later during interrogation. The man had told her he had a police scanner in his ear. He told her if she triggered that alarm, he would know immediately, and he would kill her. Samantha believed him, so she stayed calm. She followed his instructions. She did everything he said. And then investigators noticed the blinking light. They realize it's her phone. They realize that Dwayne had been calling her repeatedly while she was being held inside that stand. And then they fast-forward the footage to 11:26 p.m. A figure reappears at the coffee stand, wearing a headlamp. He had come back. The person came to the coffee stand wearing a headlight, the investigator confirmed. He came back specifically to get Samantha's phone, and left. 4 minutes later, at 11:30 p.m., the first text message was sent from Samantha's phone to Dwayne. The man had thought of everything. He had staged an argument. He had bought himself time. He had delayed the moment anyone would call the police by crafting a message designed to make people think Samantha had walked away on her own. And it had worked. The investigation kicks into high gear. Detectives comb through surveillance footage from the surrounding area. The Home Depot parking lot across the street yields something crucial. Footage of a couple walking to a vehicle. From there, they trace additional street camera footage. The quality is too grainy to read a license plate, but they can see it. White Chevy pickup truck. The problem? There were approximately 700 identical white Chevy pickup trucks registered in Anchorage alone. Days pass. Leads are followed and exhausted. Days turn into weeks. And still, nothing. James Koenig cannot sit still. While investigators work every angle, Samantha's father takes to social media, posting about his daughter's disappearance, sharing photos, begging for tips. Donations pour in. A reward fund climbs to $41,000. And James, a grieving father who cannot sleep and cannot stop moving, calls the lead detective almost every single day. "Slav, do you have anything new for me?" he would ask. "Is there anything we could do?" The detective, a father himself with a daughter who worked at a coffee stand, understood in a visceral way that this could happen to anyone. If it happened to Samantha, he said, it could happen to somebody else. It's February 24th. Samantha has been missing for 23 days. James is out having a meeting with his search party team at a restaurant when Dwayne's phone buzzes. His face goes pale, completely white. He rushes over to James and holds out the screen. A text from Samantha's phone. Under a picture at Connor Park. Ain't she purty? They drive to Connor Park immediately. At a bulletin board, beneath a photograph of a dog named Albert, they find a Ziploc bag. Inside, a folded sheet of paper. A ransom note, written on a typewriter. The note states that Samantha is alive. The kidnapper demands $30,000 to be deposited into a debit card account linked to Samantha's bank, and claims that within 6 months to a year, he will provide information on her whereabouts. And then investigators look at what else is in the bag. A photograph. She is naked. She is bound. Her hair is braided. Duct tape covers her mouth. And beside her, a newspaper dated February 23rd, a proof of life. Investigators bring James Koenig into an interview room, just him and the sergeant. They place the photograph on the table in front of him. He stares at it for a long time. "Yes," he finally says, "it is Samantha in the photo." James immediately tells investigators to use money from the reward fund. That same day, $5,000 is deposited into the account. Authorities place a trace on the debit card, but with a 10-minute delay on notifications. In Anchorage at midnight, that 10-minute window means you can drive out of the city entirely. They station agents at publicly accessible ATMs across Anchorage, all 500 of them. That night, the card is used. Officers rush to the ATM. The suspect is already gone. But there is footage. The man is wearing a mask, goggles, a heavy jacket with the words Marine Corps on the back. His identity is completely concealed. And he's driving a Nissan SUV, not a white Chevy pickup truck. He can only withdraw $500 at a time. Investigators count on that greed bringing him back. And it does, but not in Alaska. On March 7th, the card is used in Wilcox, Arizona. Over 4,000 miles from Anchorage. The FBI contacts Arizona authorities, but because of the delay, he's already gone. The ATM footage shows the same figure, same disguise, but now he's driving a white Ford Focus. Later that same day, another withdrawal in Lordsburg, New Mexico. March 10th, Humble, Texas. March 11th, Shepherd, Texas. The FBI contacts the Texas Rangers. An alert goes out. Be on the lookout for a white Ford Focus. State Trooper Brian Henry is out on patrol when he glances to his right and sees exactly that. A white Ford Focus. He calls it in immediately. Rangers tell him, "Do not lose that car." Trooper Henry follows from a distance, watching, waiting for something, anything, to justify a stop. The vehicle accelerates. He clocks it with radar, 58 in a 55. That's enough. He activates his lights. The car pulls into a local restaurant. As Henry approaches the vehicle, he scans the back seat. Empty. He knows there's still a chance Samantha could be in the trunk. He notes the driver's face. Calm. Almost unnervingly so. From the license, he gets a name. Israel Keys. The FBI and Texas Rangers converge on the scene. They need to open that trunk. When they do, Samantha Koenig is not inside. But what they find is worse in its own way. A gray hoodie, a mask, gloves, goggles. The exact disguise from the ATM footage. And inside the pockets, Samantha's phone, Samantha's debit card. Israel Keys is connected to her kidnapping beyond any reasonable doubt. Back in Alaska, a search warrant is executed on Keys's home. Officers arrive to find a white Chevy pickup truck in the driveway, a silver Nissan Xterra SUV. They enter the house and search every inch of it. Samantha is not there. No evidence she was ever there. Then someone notices the shed, separated from the house. The entire shed is loaded onto a flatbed and transported to the FBI building in Anchorage. When investigators begin pulling apart Israel Keys's life, what they find is the most terrifying kind of monster. One who looks completely ordinary. He had a girlfriend, a 10-year-old daughter. He ran his own construction company. He had no prior criminal record, no flags, no warnings. To everyone who knew him, Israel Keys was just a guy. On March 30th, inside an interrogation room, the FBI sits across from Israel Keys. He's waived his rights. He knows his computers were seized. He knows they're going to find things. And so he decides, on his own terms, to talk. They pull up a map. Keys looks at it. He directs investigators north of Anchorage, toward Matanuska Valley. He points to a spot on a lake. Ice fishing spot, he says. Was it a hole you cut, or was the hole already there? No, it was a hole I cut. You'll see where it was, probably. So you killed her? Yes. The room falls quiet, in the way that rooms fall quiet when hope is finally extinguished. Samantha Koenig was found in Matanuska Lake shortly after. In his interrogation, Keys fills in the gaps. He had a police scanner in his ear at the coffee stand. He told Samantha not to trigger the alarm because he would know immediately. When they left the stand and she was within 100 feet, she tried to run. He tackled her. After that, she knew I was serious, he said, with a chilling casualness that investigators found deeply unsettling. She kept trying to talk to him, trying to connect with him. She was doing exactly what survival training would tell her to do. Humanize yourself. Build rapport. Make him see you as a person. It didn't save her. He drove her to his home. His girlfriend was awake inside. His 10-year-old daughter was asleep. He led Samantha into the shed, just feet from where his child slept, and tied her to the wall. He turned on loud music. He asked for her ATM card. She didn't have it. It was in Dwayne's truck. So Keyes left her there, drove to the house, found the card, and came back. That same night, Israel Keyes raped and murdered Samantha Koenig. The next morning, he woke his daughter, packed her bags, and took her on a family trip to New Orleans. He was gone for weeks. Samantha's body remained in the shed, and when he returned, he staged a proof of life. He bought an old Polaroid camera from a thrift store. He put makeup on Samantha's body. He braided her hair. He took a photograph of her next to a current newspaper and stuffed it into a Ziploc bag with a typewritten ransom note. In reality, Samantha was dead before police were even notified she was missing. The details of Samantha's final hours are never shared with James Koenig in full, but James, relentless and devastated, becomes convinced that Keyes didn't start with his daughter. He creates a Facebook page. Have you ever met Israel Keyes? Possible serial killer, and begins piecing together a timeline of Keyes's whereabouts from 2004 to 2012. Tips begin pouring in. The FBI is flooded with reports linked to missing persons cases across the country. They ask Keyes directly, "Are there other victims?" "I have lots more stories to tell," he says, "if you're interested." He knows exactly what he's doing. He wants control. He wants to dictate the terms. He insists there are certain aspects of what he's done that he doesn't want made public. Specifically, he doesn't want his daughter to know. And yet, he enjoys the attention. Investigators describe him sitting there, calm, telling horrific stories in the most casual voice imaginable, savoring the visible shock on their faces. What they piece together is staggering. Keyes is a serial killer who had been operating for years without detection. He buried kill kits in remote locations, rope, gloves, tape, zip ties, guns, and would travel back to those sites later to commit murders. He deliberately chose victims far from home. He had a system. He had been doing this for a long time. Then a TV news channel identifies him publicly by name. Keyes finds out. He shuts down completely. "I have no reason to tell you more information," he says. And that's it. On May 23, 2012, Keyes appears in court for a hearing. No cameras allowed inside, but reporters pack the gallery. James Koenig and his family are seated there. By all accounts, the hearing was expected to be brief, a formality. And then Israel Keyes stands up and throws himself over the guardrail separating him from the gallery. Over the railing, directly toward where James Koenig and Samantha's family were seated. A marshal catches him at the last second, throws him to the ground. Another deploys a taser. The room erupts. James Koenig declines to comment afterward. The next day, investigators return for another interview. "What's changed since yesterday?" they ask. Keyes looks at his wrists. "More handcuffs," he says. After 40 hours of questioning spread across 8 months, Keyes refuses to cooperate further. Investigators have only managed to pull 2 names from him: Bill Currier and Lorraine Currier, a couple from Vermont. 3 days later, on December 2, 2012, a prison guard performs a routine check on Keyes' shoes. Israel Keyes is found dead. He had taken his own life. "A lot of people were glad he was dead," one investigator said quietly. "They think that's what he deserved. But there's a lot of information he took with him." Investigators are certain Keyes killed 11 people. To date, only 3 have been officially confirmed: Bill Currier, Lorraine Currier, and Samantha Koenig. Special Agent Kat Nelson continues to work the remaining cases, refusing to stop. "It won't be easy by any means," she says, "and it may take a long time, but I'll never give up trying." James Koenig, who lost his only daughter and whose relentless determination helped bring a serial killer to justice, channels his grief into action. He founds an organization called Seeking Alaska's Missing, SAM, to help other families search for and find their missing loved ones. Friends and family are also working to pass the Samantha Koenig Safety Act, aimed at improving workplace safety across Alaska, so that no young woman is ever left alone and vulnerable the way Samantha was. As of today, that bill has not yet passed. They are still fighting. And James Koenig keeps going. Because Samantha is his world. She always was, she always will be. Israel Keyes claimed 11 victims. Only 3 have names. Somewhere out there, 8 families are still waiting for an answer that died with him in that cell. And the question that haunts every investigator who worked this case, the question that may never be answered, is a simple one. How many years had he been doing this before anyone even knew his name?